And it is for fear of lack and abandonment. That there are some people who get into the craft Am I saying they're wrong necessarily per se for it? Maybe not. But here's the trickiness about that. When I say it is for fear of lack and abandonment that some people get into the craft. The craft meaning utilizing spell work types of stuff in order to produce a desired result that they're looking for. Whether this be just the high level of manipulation or actual spell work itself, or both. When there are people who let's say they didn't even start out with, they were not that well to begin with, and I'm not saying this to be condescending, insensitive, disrespectful, because you don't get to choose what kind of condition you're birthed here into. You see what I'm trying to say? We don't, we just get here, right? If our parents were nutsos, Anyway, our parents was crazy. They crazy. If our parents was, not right, okay, no disrespect, and they not, and then something happened with us for whatever reason, complications with birth, genetics, it doesn't really matter why. Okay. Also, maybe just environment, if it was nothing physiological, but just, like I said, we were born to nutsos and kind of shaped in a certain kind of environment. So here you go. The person didn't get a decent start to begin with, right? And the world as they know it, they didn't have nothing except maybe their looks. Maybe that was their winning ticket, baby. The winning ticket was their looks and what was between their legs. So the craft started with them. They learned it early. But it started with them with that before they got into anything else. It started with that. I can get my way here. I can get provided for. I won't have to suffer lack, poverty, going without, loss. I can always have somebody. I can always have because I look good and what's between my legs. Then over time, if no healing, no true healing from the inside out or any real skill that's marketable on a long term is sought after, or personality development not truly sought after, then it has to increase. And then you get around just the right people. You hear something from one person, you start searching, or somebody. It's one thing and another, then, eureka, actual spell work come into play. I'm in fear. What am I going to do? Who's going to take care of me? How am I going to take care of myself? Am I going to end up alone? Or, I don't know how to be alone, or I'm scared to be alone. What can I do? I don't have a lot of resources. I don't have a lot of skill. My skill is my beauty or my handsomeness or what's between my legs. That has been my winning ticket. And that's starting to weigh thin. So, all right. Then I have children. The old infamous baby trapping spell of all time. Blood magic on top of, you have a tie that the man is obligated to, or you get some level of entitled access because now a baby has been born. Whether, albeit however toxic It may be, but there's a level of attachment just by way of that. Some people get into the craft for fear of loss and abandonment. And what happens in these situations, these are the classic tales of what we see today when we talk about people utilizing certain things from a not right place inside of them. This is where it came from. This is why most of these type of people, they hide the fact that they're even into it. These types of individuals usually, not some cases they're open, but usually it is hidden that they're even into that stuff. That's been a part of their power. That too is a form of spell work. Because to create an illusion that you don't practice or hire those that practice, that is a spell to give an illusion that I haven't done anything to you or anyone else or this situation. So I'm the least one that you're going to suspect. I am a good, clean, wholesome, whatever we're claiming to be. I don't do that sort of thing. And that's all about illusion. That's why I tell people all the time, there are people that's so worried about folks like myself and others that are open with who we are. They're so worried about that. And there are some that are open that are not right. I can attest to that too. But I'd be more concerned about the ones that are pretending like that ain't what they do. Pretending like that they don't, secretly at night do spells or contact people to do spells as a way of life, to survive. This is why we need to be careful, not fearful. I said careful. As people, as practitioners, especially those, because we need to understand, especially practitioners, worth their salt. Case in point, here on TikTok and any other social media, you have a lot of beautiful practitioners or folks that's really trying to pay it forward and just share all sorts of things that, could help folks, right? But the whole issue of social media is it's being in the melting pot of people who are mentally well and people who aren't. And those same people are having access to the information. And I'm not saying this so we should not share information. I'm simply saying, because we can't do anything with that. But I'm talking about, just think about how folks may go even take it a step further and contact practitioners. And basically flip the story, tell the practitioner the story of what they've actually been doing to the person in which they're trying to get this practitioner to now do something. We have to understand that I swallowed this pill a long while back. That though I'm not responsible, I can't take it upon my own back, people's hidden agendas and however, it'll serve me to give it all I have to do my own due diligence in a sense, for personal stuff for people before I touch it. Because to think that, and this includes people we know, family, friends. I don't know why as a culture sometimes we don't want to accept that we have some friends and family that's, I don't know if we feel like it's disrespectful, but, it is what it is. If you know that somebody so this is why it gets ugly and messy. These are usually people who are misers and greedy, and they're very primitive and animalistic, and they will profile you and target you for nefarious reasons, for their own gains, because of their lack mentality. When you're not in that mentality, you're not profiling nobody, baby. You're not sitting up looking for somebody to take advantage of, who you can cast some illusion over and, you know what I'm saying, steal from, or, you know, harvest their energy. And that's a lack mentality. That's fear of loss, lack, and abandonment. Healthy people aren't profiling. They're not predatory. The best thing that you can do if you feel like you're dealing with these kinds of people is first, just stay away from them the best you can. Keep a strong boundary. Interact at, bare minimum, like, and I mean that. In some cases, not at all. But there's some of y'all in situations where it's like, it's kind of not. But those types you can't trust, because when I say reptilian, I'm referencing they're in their reptilian brain. Is it possible an entity and being? Maybe. But what I'm also really referencing is the brain. It's the functionality, which is the primitive nature of our brain, which makes us animalistic, which means they're predatory, whether they know it or not. Because to scheme and profile, that is an act of a predator that looks for seemingly vulnerable situations to take advantage of. That is a predator. Okay? Trying to do spells on these vulnerable people, that's still a predator. It's a predator no matter how you flip the pancake. Okay? And I bet you these people are usually very greedy. They're very gluttonous. They're very entitled. So be mindful, fellow practitioners and metaphysical, esoteric lovers and practitioners, and especially if you just consider yourself one of, if you consider yourself one of a higher frequency and of a level of some kind of your own ethics and decency you're holding yourself up to. Not all practitioners are, and I respect that too. But for those of you who that's how you view yourself, hear what I'm saying. Just because somebody inboxed you with a soppy, sad story, and it's a true story, but what they're telling you is not true of what happened to them, it's true of what they've done. There are sickos that will give practitioners names of disabled people to do fucked up shit to. And because people are lazy and don't want to do their due diligence and sense into things, all they do is look at the name and date of birth and, they're 18 years old. You're a dumb bitch and a dumb nigga. Because now you didn't have racked up some even heavier shit for yourself. There are people in this world that are not right upstairs. And I am not saying this to be funny or crass, but the fact that they are willing to do stuff like that should be enough indication that there's something not right within the person. Be mindful that the people, not even just practitioners, I'm going to even say churchgoers, religious folk, and I'm going to specify the group of religious folks that I'm referencing at this time because I'm not referencing all. I'm specifically referencing the very far and few and in between that are actually decent and ain't on that shit. Ain't on that shit, meaning that bullshit. They're not hateful, vengeful, insecure, jealous cunts and fucks. They ain't on that shit. They ain't on that control and domination shit. Okay? What you all need to understand likewise. Some of the most grotesque, detestable witches are in your midst. These are cognito practitioners because they're cowards. But it's also because it's a spell. That is just yet another spell of theirs. I don't want people to know what I am because I'm actually a distorted practitioner. I am a distorted witch, man or woman. And I roll with distorted witches. But that's my spell. I don't want people to know because it's my spell. This is where the power of it comes in. No one will ever suspect me. I am at church every Sunday. Every Wednesday. Bible study, intercessor. The soup kitchen. I check on all the elderly. I'm always calling on people's birthday. No one will ever know. I'm the last one that will be suspected. So when crazy and foul things start to happen, the ones that will be looked at are the ones who have the balls and boldness to live out loud as they are. Because 1 + 1, according to that kind of logic, is, well, they're in this arena and this industry, so it is more likely to equal that it is them. That is a very elementary level of thinking. Chances are they have spells on you. Because for these types of people, it's about control and domination. It's about getting their way, whether all of this they want from you is supply of energy. It's all different for each of them. They want your energy, they want your time, and then they want to use you as a pawn to come against their target. They understand that prayer, they're not going to tell you this because that's not your belief system. But they do understand that prayers is spells. And so this is why they would get together with you, though they hate you too. And they talk about you when they leave the service, dear. Okay? They talk about you and your children. Okay? Yes, they do. When they leave the service, they don't like you. And if you make them mad, they do some stuff to you and you wouldn't know it. Some of the stuff that you all call and talk about the devil and the this and that is the devil that goes to church with you. That's spelling on your ass. So this is why it'll serve you all. Careful. You may have your beliefs, but I promise you, you don't want to get too far deep and involved. Because they'll have you in some kind of prayer circle on the so-called family member that they're so concerned with that they've never really been concerned with. And now a whole lot of people got to get touched because at some point, them spells, i.e. prayers, will be rerouted accordingly. It's all about control, fear of loss of control. They're not worried about these people. You guys got to learn how to critically think. They're not worried. Their behavior, when you look deeper and closer, no. They're worried about loss of control, loss of access, loss of influence, and in some cases, they're worried about exposure, which would give them loss of power. So they bring to you the one who has the power to expose them, to pray for them. We need to be careful. I've said this time and time again, nothing is good or bad in and of itself. But when you deal with people who never addressed anything in their life, and you become more and more desperate with time, failure to develop, this is what people get. They want to secure. I need. They're gluttonous. They're clinchy. They want their stuff and they want your stuff. And these are the people who will have no regard about how that affects you or how that affects your children if you have children. You don't care because, again, they're in their reptilian brain. They never developed frontal lobe properly. They didn't have to. When you can get people to bow to you based on either your handsomeness, your beauty, or your sex, or on the other side of it, if you're just people scared of you, your resources and people scared of you, or you're not resources, but people scared of you, a bully. That's what you use. You don't develop a personality. You don't develop. You mimic personalities in order to cope and you steal other people's, that's a part of what these types of people do. They like to, that's the doppelganger shit. They like to steal identities and personalities. They don't have one. They didn't cultivate it. And so when they get around some kind of energies, they want that, and then they want to swap. That's what the destiny swap. And they want to swap and project their mental illness and project all of these, yucky things that's truly true of them. They want to swap. Because this is when all of a sudden now they're getting ideas that they never gotten. Now they're getting motivation that they were never having. And now that they're into this that they were never doing. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. while simultaneously trying to end the vessel and the being in which they got it from. Ooh, they're doing this. We can do it. We can do it better. We can. Oh, they're saying this. Oh, they're. Oh, yep. And it's still their desperation. It's still the same thing that I'm talking about. Fear of lack and being left out. So spiritual and religious people alike, get some more depth, some more mindfulness, intentional mindfulness, as we all listen to various people coming to us with stories and, understanding that, okay, this is a mixed bag. And especially the stuff that is closest to us, because it's sometimes the stuff closest to us that we are the most blind to in some cases. Our partiality, our ability to be unbiased gets tainted because we have a familiarity with the person. We have a shared bond, or, you like them or they like you, or you see what I'm saying? That it clouds judgment. I've always said that. And to be honest, this is why for a long time, I wouldn't use my knowledge or my craft or my practices as it pertains to people I knew for a long time, because I felt like I'm at a disadvantage because, like, for an example, when you're dating or whatever, you can tap in, but you're a little bit in a disadvantage because I'm aware that we all have a level of vulnerability here. You'll sit there and reason more 20 times over because you like this person. I've done that. And you want to like them, and you don't want to believe that they brain ain't right. You don't want to believe that their scruples are loose to such a degree that they would be targeting you and profiling you for some fucked up reasons. Because they're my friend. Oh, they helped me out. They did this and that. See, the world of technology and social media is a beautiful thing, and it's how we have managed to have such advancements, and we're able to get through a lot of things. But it's also the same tool used by those that are not well. People who don't want to develop, they don't want to have to develop a personality. They don't want to have to develop and heal from their traumas from childhood. They don't even want to have to acknowledge that it even exists. They don't want to have to deal with this a possibility something's not right. Maybe it was in the birthing. They don't want to have to look at these things, or their culture and environment was toxic, which gave them and shaping them into some toxic ways and thoughts and tendencies. They don't want to look at any of that. It's much faster, quicker, and easier just to manipulate and get into baneful workings to get your way. And to say that it's everyone else. Sociopathic energies, people who were used to being lifted up by a community or a group and all of that. At all costs, that's their concern. And they don't really care what lies they have to tell, what things they have to twist and manipulate and turn, and what folks they have to hurt in order to ensure that their fake makeshift fashion, manufactured, illusionary reputation that they have created and have been in for so long, to make sure that that is upheld. People praising and worshiping them, bowing to them, kissing their asses, thinking that they're the cat's meow. And anybody that poses a threat to that becomes the target. And so, in other words, anybody who can see through them like an x-ray. Anyone who actually knows the truth, and anyone who dares to speak about that truth and ain't scared of their ass. And their threats of what they can do and not do. Some people say, very well, do as you wish. It's going to be you that pay for it in the end.